Somewhere on your phone, right now, there might be a message that could take away your legal rights, and you probably don't even remember sending it. It won't feel dangerous when you send it. It might even feel normal, a joke, a quick reply, a small favor for a friend at work. But months or years later, if you ever need to fight your employer in court, that one message can show up again, and this time it's not on your side. In this video, we're going to look at 5 specific texts that quietly destroy strong legal cases every single day. Number 3 is the one almost nobody thinks is a problem until it's too late to fix. And number 5 is the one that surprises people the most because it doesn't feel like a mistake at all. It feels like the responsible thing to do. Quick heads up before we start. This video is for general learning, not personal legal advice. Every job situation is different, so if something like this is actually happening to you, talk to a licensed employment lawyer in your area. Okay, let's get into it. Here's something most people don't think about until it's too late. If you ever take legal action against an employer, your private texts don't stay private. There's a stage in every lawsuit called discovery. During discovery, lawyers on both sides can demand copies of messages that relate to the case, even ones sent from your personal phone to a friend after work hours about something you thought was just between the two of you. Your coworker doesn't get to protect you here. If a judge orders those messages handed over, your coworker has to hand them over. There's no loyalty clause. There's no delete from me button that makes it disappear from a backup somewhere. So keep this thought in your head as we go through today's list. If you wouldn't want a stranger reading your text out loud in a courtroom, maybe don't send it. Let's start with the first one, and it's a mistake almost everyone has made without realizing it. Text 1, the reply that makes you look fine with it. Imagine this. A coworker sends you a message that crosses a line. Maybe it's a joke about your body. Maybe it's something way too personal about your relationship, your religion, or your health. It bothers you, but you don't want drama, so instead of saying anything real, you type back something quick, lol, a laughing emoji, a thumbs up, just to move past the moment. It feels like nothing, but here's what you don't see coming. If that behavior keeps happening, and you ever need to report it or take action, there's a hidden rule working against you. To win a case like this, you usually have to prove the behavior was unwanted, and your own reply can be used to argue the opposite. Company lawyers love finding messages like this. They'll pull up your LOL and say, "Look, they weren't upset. They laughed. They sent a thumbs up. Nobody complained. How bad could it have really been?" And here's the part that stings the most. That argument actually works sometimes. Not because it's fair, not because it's true, but because on paper, a laughing emoji looks a lot like approval. So what should you do instead? A short, clear reply, like, "Please don't send me things like that," protects you far more than silence ever could. And if speaking up in the moment feels too hard, simply not responding at all is safer than replying with anything that could later be twisted into a yes. That's mistake number 1. But the next one is sneakier, because it doesn't feel like a mistake for months, sometimes not until you're already in a fight you didn't expect to be in. Text 2, the text that says you were already planning to leave. This is the one where you tell a coworker you've been looking at other jobs. The obvious risk is that word travels back to your manager, and suddenly you're the person on the way out. But there's a bigger problem hiding underneath that one. A problem that can wipe out an entire legal claim before you even know you need it. There's a legal idea that lets you take action if you were never technically fired, but the situation became so unbearable that quitting was your only real option. To win that kind of claim, you usually need to prove that walking away was a last resort, not something you already had planned. Now picture this. 3 months before things fell apart, you texted a coworker, "Honestly, I just want better pay, so I've quietly been applying around." That single sentence can undo the entire case. Lawyers will pull it up and say, "They weren't pushed out. They were already leaving. Here's proof in their own words, way before anything even got bad." And there's a second trap hiding right next to this one, and it's even sneakier. If you're ever fighting for lost wages, you're usually expected to have made a genuine effort to find new work. So if you text a friend something like, "I got an offer but turned it down," or "I'm taking a break from job hunting for now," that message can be used to argue you didn't try hard enough, which can shrink what you're able to recover, even if you win everything else. The lesson here isn't complicated. Keep your job search completely private until you've already signed something new. Don't post it, don't text it, don't even hint at it to a friend at work. That's number 2. But the next mistake is the most emotionally satisfying one to make, and also one of the most damaging. Text 3, the message where you let it all out. You've had a terrible day. Your manager embarrassed you in front of everyone, or made a decision that made zero sense. So you grab your phone and type to a coworker, "I can't stand him. He's a joke. I hate working for this guy." Totally human, totally understandable. But writing it down hands your employer something they will absolutely use. And here's the part that catches people off guard. If you ever pursue a case like discrimination, there's a moment where the company has to give a reason for what they did to you. And sometimes that reason isn't true. They might claim you had a bad attitude, that you were difficult, that you were disrespectful, even if none of that is real. This is where your venting text becomes a gift you didn't mean to give them. If they find a message where you called your manager names, they no longer need to make up a reason. You already gave them one. They'll hold it up and say, "We didn't get rid of this person for anything illegal. Look, right here, they admit they were disrespectful. We have proof." You basically built their defense for them, for free. So if you need to vent, and at some point everyone does, say it out loud to someone you trust. Don't type it. Nothing about how you feel needs a permanent, searchable, time-stamped record. That's 3 down. Number 4 is small. It feels harmless, and it's one of the most common mistakes on this entire list. Text 4, the "just cover for me" text. This is the text where you ask a coworker for a tiny favor that bends a rule. Something like, "Running late, can you clock me in?" Or, "I forgot to sign the log, can you just put your initials down for me?" It feels like nothing, a small favor between friends. Nobody gets hurt, right? Except legally, you just created a time-stamped, written reason for your employer to fire you, and it doesn't even need to be the real reason they let you go for it to hurt you. Here's how this plays out. Say you're let go for a reason that's actually against the law. You decide to fight it, and on paper, your case looks strong. But during the legal process, the other side finds an old text where you asked a friend to clock you in before you'd actually arrived. Now here's the twist. Even though that's not why you were really let go, your employer can argue, "If we had known about this at the time, we would have fired them for it anyway." And courts often allow that argument. It can seriously shrink what you're able to recover, sometimes cutting off lost wages almost entirely. It doesn't erase what was actually done to you, but it can make winning feel a lot less worth it. So the rule here is simple. Never put a broken rule in writing, not as a joke, not as a favor, not just this once. That was 4. Now here's the one people never expect, the one that looks like you're doing everything right. Text 5, the complaint you only told a friend. This is the one nobody warns you about, and it might be the most surprising on this entire list. Something is going wrong at work. Maybe it's harassment, maybe it's unfair treatment. You're upset, so you text a coworker about it. You explain everything. You vent. You even ask them to remember it, in case you need a witness later. It feels like you're being smart, like you're building your case early. But here's the problem. You told a friend. You didn't tell the people who could actually do something about it. In a lot of situations, before you can win a case like this, you have to show that you gave your employer a real chance to fix the problem, usually by reporting it through HR or an official channel. If all you ever did was vent to a coworker, the company can argue something devastating. "We never knew. Nobody reported this to us. If we had known, we would have handled it." And suddenly, a case that felt strong becomes a lot weaker. Not because what happened to you wasn't real, but because of how it was reported. So here's the fix. Venting to a friend can feel supportive in the moment, but it's not a substitute for reporting the issue the right way. If something serious is happening, put it in writing to HR, to a manager, or through whatever official process your company has, and keep a copy for yourself. That's all 5. And now here's the twist that ties the entire video together. At this point, you might be thinking, "Sure, but my coworker would never show anyone my texts. We trust each other." Here's why that thinking falls apart the second things get legal. It's not really about trust anymore. It's about how the legal process works. Once a case is filed, a judge can order both sides to hand over anything relevant, including private messages. Your coworker doesn't get a choice at that point. Refusing isn't really an option, because ignoring a legal order can create serious problems for them too. So even your most loyal coworker becomes, without meaning to, a walking record of everything you've ever told them the moment a lawsuit starts. Let's put it all together, because these 5 mistakes tend to sneak up on people in almost the exact same order. The reply that makes harassment look welcomed. The job hunting text that erases your strongest excuse for leaving. The venting message that hands your employer a reason to fire you. The small favor that turns into permanent evidence against you. And the complaint you only shared with a friend instead of the people who could actually fix it. None of these feel dangerous in the moment. That's exactly why they work against you. Nobody thinks a thumbs up emoji or a rushed favor is going to matter until someone on the other side is reading it out loud, months or years later, in front of people deciding your future. The real lesson here isn't stop texting your coworkers. It's this: treat anything you put in writing as permanent, because legally it basically is. If you wouldn't want it read back to you by a stranger deciding your case, say it out loud instead. Or better yet, don't say it at all until you know exactly who needs to hear it. If this changed the way you think about your own group chats, that's exactly the point. Understanding how these situations actually play out is one of the easiest ways to protect yourself, long before you ever need to. If this was helpful, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it before they send the wrong text. See you in the next one.